And I'm Matt Hanna.
And this is Horror Hour with the Hannas,
where we talk about a bunch of Shudder originals, horror movies.
Way to be awkward with that. But in the wise words of Bodies, today's episode is a podcast about hanging out with your smartest and funniest friends. So today we are joined by our podcast friends. You've seen them on the show before. We are joined by the ladies from No Bodies, Lonely and Susie. Hey, guys.
Susie, did you hear that? We're the smartest and the funniest of all time.
That's the first time both of those words have ever been used to describe me, but okay, thank you.
I don't know.
True.
Susie, I think you're pretty funny. What is that?
Whoa.
I did not mean for that to be so fucking shady.
That was a good joke, if that was what you were going for.
That is not what I meant.
Hannah looks so embarrassed right now. That was incredible. After she said it, she was like, wait a second.
My bad.
Damn.
I don't have a lot of friends in real life, so this is as close as I get to any form of, what do they call that? Positive affirmation. So, you know what? I'll take it.
I thought you were going to say hazing.
No. If we want to get hazed, we'll go on an all-male podcast. You're outnumbered, Matt, so we're safe for now.
Yeah, I'm getting hazed here.
This is hopefully a safe space. I say hopefully.
Hopefully. Wow, all right.
Well,
Ooh,
bitch, I don't know.
It's a good start.
This is going so poorly already. Thank God we've already podcasted with them before.
Yes.
This would be like immediately like they're never coming back. Well, thanks for joining us today, guys. We're very excited because today we are going to be talking about Shudder original films. So we're doing this because 2025 is actually Shudder's 10th birthday. Shudder launched their streaming service in 2015. And since then, they've put out over 100 original films. Their first original film was released in 2018. And at the time of recording, they have put out 12 so far this year. By the time of release, they will have put out at least 14 for the year. So they are pumping out heckin' content lately. And we are going to be talking about 4 films that span their existence in making original films. We will go through them one by one, talk about a little background, and then talk about why we chose these films and what the rest of us thought about them.
Yep.
And
there's going to be lots of debate, I think.
I am positive about that.
You said it was a safe space. It's a safe space
right now,
depending on your opinion, you know.
Yo.
On these movies.
No. Everyone's allowed to have their own opinion.
We
just might disagree
for everybody except the person who picked one of the films that we're going to be talking about.
I know which one it's going to be.
Yeah.
And I know you picked it, Matt.
I know you picked it.
Yeah, Matt immediately was like, oh, fuck, they're going to hate my movie. The second we put it on, Matt was like, I'm going to get...
And are you surprised that I loved it?
No, not at all. Not at all.
So that's going to be fun. To roast Matt, because I think he'll be getting some roasting from all of us.
You know what? I was going to say, what's that old saying? They hated Jesus too because he told the truth.
Matthew,
you know?
Every time you say that on this show.
Well, it makes me laugh every time. So. Okay.
I also like the quote, everyone's entitled to their own wrong opinion.
No, true.
It's so true. I just like to tell people, we had a friend in college that I just thought some of his movie takes were just like bananas. And so I would just tell him he was wrong and he would get really mad and be like, oh, I can't be wrong. It's an opinion. And I was like, well, your opinion is wrong. So sorry about that. And I don't think I've ever had a higher high than roasting that man's film opinions. It just wouldn't hit as hard if it were a woman.
True.
And all I can think about when you're talking about roasted, I just want to say D's nuts. I don't know why. Sorry.
Oh, you dated yourself, Susie. That's okay. It's because you spend all your time with children.
It happens to the best of us. Honestly, I can't say my brain doesn't go there eventually either. And I am still in my 20s. So here we are.
Just barely.
Oh, God, don't remind me that I turn 30 next year. That's gross. Anyway, before we get into these movies, I did want to give you guys a quick space to describe what you do on your show and let our listeners know where to find you.
Lonely, why don't you take that one?
You don't have it memorized? Neither do I. We did a what's-it-called the other day. We had to do something in post, and we couldn't remember our own intro. So that's how things are going over at Nobody. Nobody's Horror Podcast is the podcast where we clean up the ugly things so you don't have to. We are a horror content podcast. We review films. We talk about horror topics. We chat with our pals from the internet and all that fun stuff. We focus on independent films, femme-lens films, and opinions that aren't really talked about in the horror genre. So we're a bi-weekly upload. And Susie, is that all of it? All the great stuff we do?
I think we piss people off quite often, too, with our opinions.
Oh, yes. We try to piss people off on the internet whenever possible. And, we've kind of become, what do we call ourselves? We're not like a bully. We're like the Lone Ranger of horror podcasting.
Well, tell us where to find you if you didn't already.
Oh, yeah, I forgot that. We're at Nobody's Horror Podcast on all the things. We're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, all of the things, and at Nobody's Horror Podcast on Instagram. That's where you can get in touch with us for all the things.
Well, we appreciate having you both on. And speaking of being Lone Rangers on the internet, I'll say we've been doing some TikTok lives recently where I have been going at it with the commenters when they come in. We
just get the most banana shit.
It's fun. They're like picking apart like, oh, there's a plot hole in this, and I just start like losing it about like, go take your sensitive ass back to Cinema Sins, you know.
Well, we're talking about a movie that has a very clear police narrative, anti-police storyline. I think you've both seen the film already. Weapons is very clearly, there's the storyline with Paul that's very clearly anti-police. And we were saying that on live, and people were like, what are you talking about? You're stupid liberal butt, and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, shut the fuck up, read a single article.
And also, Barbarian also had a very similar narrative.
Not even an undertone.
It's the text. It's the text.
It's literally so clear. And it's not like this is the first time Zach Kreger has told us how he feels about the police. Mm-hmm. It's also in his first film. He's 2 for 2 in horror.
I'm also saying like he was Whitest Kids You Know, which was like Bush era sketch comedy that was a very anti-Bush, very anti-Iraq war. Like it's not surprising how he feels.
Yeah. And we love a sensitive queen, but if that's the kind of shit you're getting sensitive over, maybe our shows aren't for you. Anyway, let's fucking do it and talk about these movies, because like we said, I know we're gonna have a lot to say and we are gonna have some beef with one another. So we're gonna go through them in chronological order. So the first movie picked was Blood Quantum, and it was released in 2019, written, directed, and edited, actually, by Jeff Barnaby. And the back of the box description is the dead are coming back to life, and almost all of Earth's population are decimated due to the zombie virus, except for the isolated reserve of Red Crow, whose indigenous inhabitants are strangely immune to the zombie plague. So I know this was picked by one of you guys, not Matt or I. So who picked this movie and why did you select this film?
Why don't you guess which one of us picked it?
I was going to guess you, Susie.
Yes, it was me. I love this movie. I love Blood Quantum. And I picked it because I like how this movie is flipping the script on Indigenous people being like the population that is considered like the weak population and the one that gets taken advantage of, because in Blood Quantum, this population is the one that has all the control without getting too deep into the storyline.
I really loved that element of the film as well. I think this film is a really great representation of the generational trauma that comes with being an Indigenous person in the United States, and then, covering the historical tension that exists between white folks and Native individuals in the United States and North America as a whole. I thought that was a really, really interesting concept. And I don't think this movie would be nearly as strong as it is if it weren't without that part of the text. I think that all of that is really well done. So I was excited when you picked this because I was like, that's rad as hell.
And I didn't know the term. I hadn't heard the term Blood Quantum before I watched the movie. So obviously I'm looking at the title and I looked it up, and you might have all known this, but Blood Quantum refers to the amount of Indian blood an individual possesses, and it's often expressed as like a fraction. And it's not something that the indigenous people used. It's something that the white people used to, quantify the importance of other people, which I think fits again perfectly with the theme in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
So I did know that going in because I used to follow someone I met who was indigenous on Twitter, and they talked about it. So I was like, okay, zombie movie, definitely indigenous. But I kind of had a same understanding that it's not something they recognize, and that like if that's brought up, it's a pretty telltale sign that they don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah, like having an ancestor way back that was indigenous, and you're like, I'm actually 2% indigenous, so jot that down.
It's really, you got to be claimed. That's what I learned from this person on Twitter.
Yeah. Well, let's not act like we're experts.
That's true. That's what she explained it, though. Is you are claimed by a tribe or a group there. So. But
I do appreciate you for bringing that to the table, because I do think there are plenty of people who don't know what that means. I had heard the term, but I didn't know what it was either. So thank you for bringing that to the table, Susie.
Do we want to get into why that is an integral part of the plot?
Yeah, go ahead. You, Lonely, okay. Do you want to also share anything? You've been silent thus far on this film.
No, yeah. So I know this was one of Susie's favorites, and we had a chance to talk about Blood Quantum many, many, many months, dare I say years, Susie, ago on season 1 of years ago now, on Nobody season 1 with Aukai Ligari, also known as Wolfman Josh, who's an indigenous horror creator here in the community. And he had a lot of insight on how this film was created, which I thought was really cool. And I remember one of the things that Aukai had shared with us was that a good portion of this cast is indigenous, and a lot of them weren't like seasoned actors. They were folks that lived in the community that the film was going to be produced, and the team really wanted to have an authentic interpretation of the indigenous communities in that area. So they actually worked with these young people, these actors, to kind of get them screen ready. And I think some of that authenticity of how these folks communicate is really comes through in the script in a way that is like very dry and very funny. And I think that's a really cool piece of the film, especially because indigenous culture is not really highlighted in horror as much as it should be. And let me see if I have any other fun facts for you. The girlfriend character is from Degrassi. Don't know if anybody else likes Degrassi.
Oh my God, wait.
I didn't even realize.
She plays Maya. She plays Maya in Degrassi, Next Generation, and in Next Class, Olivia Scriven. Yeah, so I'm a Degrassi lover at heart. And I also have like this, I think Canada is kind of like incestuous when it comes to actors, because you'll find that a lot of people in Degrassi are in a lot of major motion pictures in Canada. This is a Canadian film. Yeah, and that's where I'll stop for now. I have many, many, many things to say about zombies. Oh, wait, that's where you were going, Susie. So why is blood important in this film?
So, in this movie, it starts with the zombie apocalypse has happened. It is happening in this film. And the only people that can get bit and not turn into zombies are the indigenous people who have, indigenous blood in them. And instead of shunning all of the white people, like they have been shunned, they end up taking in, survivors who are unbitten, and they have this like little compound going. And some of the indigenous people do not want the townies, the white folk, in their compound, and others are welcoming all. And then things go awry because we have an infected person that comes into the compound. And I loved this movie up until that part. I think at that point, things kind of fell apart for me.
I completely agree with you. That was, I didn't want to say I liked this movie. That was where I felt that it kind of hit all the pitfalls of other zombie movies. I will say I especially was pumped when I got a 6 months later title card, because at the beginning I was like, okay, we're just doing the classic, zombie apocalypse thing. Then boom, 6 months later, I was like, okay, now I got something interesting to get into. But I do think, unfortunately, by the end, it kind of loses steam.
I agree with that. I also felt like I was definitely more locked in up until that point in time. But I also can't say, having lived through a pandemic since this movie came out, that I find what happened surprising. I actually, like, we fully know of how many cases of people who knowingly had COVID and decided to go to events and spread how many people for just because of their own selfishness. Like, I wanted to go to this, so I didn't really care that I would get people sick or risk people's lives. I found that extremely relatable, but yeah, unfortunately, and I like that being a plot point. I agree that then the writing from there on got a little messier and like less engaging, I would say.
I think the messy part was the plot point that they used to have the compound fall apart. So we have this indigenous person named Lysol. I don't even know why they chose that name, but he is kind of mad that they're bringing in other people into the compound, and then he has relations with one of the people they brought in, and she was infected, and she bites his penis off, and then he's like, all right, now I gotta kill everybody. And then that was the catalyst, which I thought was so silly.
Well, the last time we talked to our dear friends, the Hannahs, we also talked about penises.
Oh my gosh.
That happens a lot.
Clearly we only talk about these few things. Penises and rioting, apparently, are on the agenda, and David Lynch. But think about it, I'm not surprised. To Hannah's like, I'm not surprised that they made these decisions during a global pandemic. I'm not surprised that a man decided to kill everybody because he lost his freaking penis. I'm not surprised.
Completely unsurprising.
Yes, the water is wet. Men act this way, but whatever. I want to go back to one point that you guys made about the zombie tropes, because I know I don't talk about it that much on, my platform, because I'm kind of known a little bit more for folk horror and religious, but zombies are like my love, my true love when it comes to horror. So I am obsessed with zombie tropes. And I'm one of those people that I think that zombies are so good that some of those tropes don't need to be redone for a zombie film to be good. And I actually think the strongest part of this film is the first 25 minutes before we get to the 6-month mark. Because I really think that the most tension and scares and what we feel as humans when we think about an eventual, zombie fallout, that's the scary part. And that's what we see building in the first 25 minutes. When we get to the 6-month mark, we're hitting a la Walking Dead. And I find that those tropes are so commercialized at this point. Granted, I think it's good. I think it's fun. We've got like cool, armor, he's wearing a mask, we've got weird tools that have shown up out of nowhere. Like, yeah, sure, that's fun. And I think a lot of the humor in the second part is really good. But I actually like the first part of the film the most when it comes to the actual zombie tropes in the narrative. And I think the way they introduce the virus is also super cool as it relates to, the whole zombie trope and the infection. Because usually we see a singular person become infected and we're like, oh, there it is. But in this, we get the fish. I
love the fish.
The grandfather character who is fishing in the waters, which are, again, integral to the way of life for this reservation, and the fish are infected. He keeps trying to kill the fish, and the fish keeps coming back to life. And then we see it replicate in a dog. And how people start getting sick is because they're eating the fish and they're eating the dogs. And I think that is a really key plot point as this relates to the indigenous populations on the reservation. Because when you're in positions of poverty, those are what you rely on. They're in a food desert. There is this huge bridge separating them from what we're to believe is the better town, in quotes, and sort of the poverty is what's pushed people to kind of make these choices and decisions. So I think that's a really cool little tidbit there, but I'll pause. I can go on and on and on. I want to talk about the body horror too, but you can go.
Well, this is a deep, lonely lore that we didn't know, is that you're a big zombie
I actually
head.
did know this.
Oh, I didn't know
somewhere on their show or her socials. I know that you are a huge Romero girly.
I mean,
Yes.
So are we.
Yeah.
my number one zombie movie is Night of the Living Dead. So
I feel like it should be, but
Yeah, I'm a huge Romero fan, and I'm also, when it comes to zombies, I'm definitely a zombie purist. So it takes a lot to like make a good zombie narrative, and I think this is here. And I guess I'll just go into the body horror. The body horror on this is insane and like very, very good. One of my favorite shots. There's two shots that really stand out to me. One is when the outbreak is starting before we get to the 6-month mark, and the chief appears to go. He goes to see a friend or to find out what's going on, and his white girlfriend. It's important because she's infected.
God.
She has, we're to assume, ripped her own baby out of her stomach and starts eating it, which is like crazy shit because you see it. You see the whole baby.
Mm-hmm.
She's eating the baby. The baby's also a zombie.
And the
wild,
baby
wild
the
shot.
baby would have been fine because the baby had
indigenous
blood. So she killed the baby for no reason.
Unless she cheated on him. That's the way I took it, because he's talking about the baby like looking very strange. And granted, he's on coke, so maybe he was just high, but I took it as like it wasn't his baby. And that's a foil we get later on with Charlie and her baby, but that's a whole other thing. So there's that shot with the baby, and then the other shot that I absolutely love, stellar zombie shot, is when they're in the gas station and half the body comes out over the window and he's like hanging by the intestines.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh.
Stunning. 10 out of 10. So it's really strong body horror. I'd love to know how much of this was practical. I don't think much of it was practical looking at what was on the screen, but I was impressed by it. But Susie, anything else you want to add here in terms of like the plot or anything we missed?
So we were talking about how it loses some steam towards the end. I think the ending, though, of bringing it back to the blood quantum aspect with our main character's girlfriend having a baby and then both being worried, is the baby going to be okay? Is the baby going to be infected? And then you find out the baby is fine, but the girlfriend has to die because she's infected. And I just thought that was a sweet, sad ending for a movie like this. What did you all think about that ending?
I just, the fact that he basically, shot her in the face and we just watched it on screen was dark. I liked it. I really liked it. But, like, the imagery is good. And I'm glad they didn't pull any punches on it because it's just, he had to do it.
I've been keeping a list on my phone of horror movies with extremely bleak endings. And I certainly think this ending made the list. Like, yes, there is this happy enough.
It's the perfect kind of bleak, right?
The baby, but is like, alive and, but yeah, it's so sad.
Yeah.
Especially when he's like, no, it's okay. You can hold her.
Yeah, I know.
He gets that like one last hold before her time is up.
You're right. This movie does come back around to like good again. I just think that like it's interesting. That's such a good emotional moment, but I kind of felt that there were a lot of other weird emotion responses throughout. Like when they return and the whole town is destroyed, it seems like our main characters don't care. Like, and then when certain people die, there's like not this like response that I expect, or even like our main character just kind of getting killed unceremoniously. There were a couple things that I was just like, and Grandpa also just being like staying behind. It was cool. It was I liked what he did.
Moment than Dad's. Dad's was literally just like
he was like, I'll hold the door, and like so that was where I was saying I think we're falling into some of the more bad versions of zombie media. But again, this movie as a whole I still liked. So
yeah, I agree. Before we kind of wrap up conversation on this film, we
got a lot to talk about.
I did want to highlight what one of you mentioned earlier with the casting, how this cast is made up of Indigenous people. I absolutely adore that. And just thinking about movies like Twilight, for example, this massive franchise that made how much fucking money, that literally relies on taking the name of an Indigenous population,
a real one that exists,
literally real, and then not keeping any of their culture or practices or anything and just making up lore about it, and then not even casting Indigenous people or donating money or anything useful whatsoever. I absolutely love that this movie is very dedicated to actually doing that.
It just wouldn't work. I mean, this movie is made for that like reason, and like that's what makes it stand out against other zombie movies is this indigenous element to it, right?
Yeah.
And if you like that, there's another movie called Slashback. You've probably seen that. Also uses, I think, an entirely indigenous cast.
I haven't heard of it, so I'll have to look into it.
Oh, so Slashback is like The Thing, kind of like The Thing in Alaska, taking place in this like Alaskan village of indigenous people. Very cool movie. Low budget, but it hits.
I mean, this seemed low budget too, so.
Yeah. It's a lot like this. They have a lot of similarities.
Well, before we move on to our next movie, I did just want to ask a simple yes or no question to everyone. Would you recommend this film to other people?
It's a yes from me.
It's a yes from me.
Yes for me.
Yes, absolutely.
Perfect. 4 for 4. Very exciting. Well, we're going to move on to our next film, and we'll see if it gets the same praise. Who's to say? The next film is Caveat from 2020, written, directed, and also edited by Damien McCarthy. The back of the box description is: when a lonely drifter with partial memory loss accepts a job to look after his landlord's niece for a few days, it seems like easy money, but there is a caveat. He must wear a leather harness and chain that restricts his movements to certain points and certain rooms in the home. While there, he begins to discover secrets in the house that coincide with the terrifying resurgence of his own memory. Which one of us do you guys?
You picked it, Hannah.
Yes, I did. And I will start by saying I picked this film because I really liked Oddity from last year, and I had not seen it. And being that it was Damien McCarthy's first film, and a lot of people seem to really like this film, and because I liked Oddity so much, I figured I had to give it a go. I also heard that it was really scary, and I was like, fuck it, I want to be scared, let's fucking go. And I will say, I did find this the scariest of the 4 watched. I hid 4 times, and I screamed twice watching this movie. I definitely think there is a few points that really got me bad and had some really great imagery, specifically the scenes in the basement with Mom's corpse behind the wall. I found that a few of those scenes really destroyed my spirit for a minute there. Overall, though, I don't think this film is particularly thematically deep. And I do think I like Oddity better, but I will open the floor to hear what you guys thought about this film. Matt, do you want to share what you thought? Because I know you were also an Oddity stan.
Yeah, I agree with you that I think Oddity is better and scarier. Narratively, this movie is good for the most part, but it's maybe good isn't the right word. It's a little disjointed. I still like what it's going for, but there's just like a lot of thoughts and none of them are really fully complete is how I felt. Still really liked and definitely found it scary. I think I was maybe overhyped on how scary it was going to be with people responding to our like scary scenes of all time on TikTok saying that this had one. And I just didn't feel that way compared to how they felt. But as a whole, interesting. I was intrigued to find out like what the mystery element of it was. I think it's a little bit messy, definitely more messy than Blood Quantum, but overall like pretty good for what it's trying to do.
I definitely think this is the most messy of the 4, I would say.
It feels.
It doesn't
like
mean
not
it's
the
my
best,
least favorite of the 4.
It feels like it's not the best screenplay, and that it needed another few passes. Is what I would say. But you got thoughts over there from the No Bodies crew?
I know.
Susie, you want me to go first?
I know you don't like it, so go for it.
Yeah, I hate Caveat. I've been a Caveat hater for quite some time. So I watched this film way before my reviewing days, and then Susie actually included this on one of our mixtape episodes where I got to go at length as to why I don't like Caveat. I also don't like Oddity. So my issue with Caveat.
Yeah, I know. I want to say before you say, I definitely want to hear what you have to say because I definitely like feel very middle of the road about this, but like maybe you can convince me to hate it more.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, so my issue with Caveat, and I talk about this with many films, I have, as Susie and I have come to discover, a very low threshold for suspending disbelief. Susie, she'll give everything a try. We'll try to believe everything. give you a chance. I don't give chances. I don't, when things don't make sense, I have no patience. So we have our friend here, whatever the hell his name is. I even forget. Does he even have a name? Mo? Is that his
Isaac.
name? Mo?
Oh, wait, which guy? The guy who hires him?
Isaac.
He's
He's our
the
friend.
main character. Yeah.
Yes. Isaac. Why? There's no reason for him to go in that fucking house. There's nothing on this earth is worth being chained to a wall with someone who is very mentally unwell, and he does not put up a fight at any point in this process. And I understand he's supposed to, it's for the lore, it's for the backstory, but that makes no sense. No sense. There's no sense to why he's there.
Money.
And it totally like disengages me from the story altogether because it makes no sense. And I have no patience for a storyline. It's like, well, I'm just going to tell you later, because shocker, Caveat really doesn't tell you much anytime later. And so that's my biggest issue, is that we're starting off with a really weak plot, and then it tends to be a bit of a slow burn. So those two things just don't make a very good story for me as a viewer. And then my last complaint about Caveat is we are sold this rabbit. I'm going to go on the rabbit rant, Susie. I'm sorry. We are sold this rabbit. He is on the poster. He is in the trailer. I love this rabbit. And this rabbit is so good that is the only reason why I watched Oddity. And we don't get enough rabbit. He's not there. He comes with his little drum and then he disappears. And you know what? I think if there was more rabbit in this film, I would have liked it better. I don't know. And the story, it's poorly put together in my opinion, but I know there are people who really like this film.
That's me. Hi, it's me.
I want to say real quick, I do agree about the rabbit. I was like, this rabbit's fucking scary as hell in this poster. And then it starts and you're like, oh, maybe he is a helpful little rabbit. And then I'm like, where did he go?
It's disjointed. You like the rabbit because you want more of this spooky ghost story that we're kind of sold on, and we end up with weird mystery amnesia thriller
I don't care about
is
that.
Not as interesting, and then neither really get fully fleshed out. Neither of those stories.
Yeah.
But Susie, tell us what you think.
Tell us why you like it.
Because you got to defend now.
I do like Caveat, and I like it because this is a movie that doesn't remind me of any other movie. And all the movies I watch, I'm like, oh, that reminds me of this. That reminds me of this. And Matt, you were saying that this movie has no like thematic relevance, and you think Oddity does, which blows my mind, because that movie was like an all-you-can-eat buffet where they just kept putting crap on the plate. And this is like a very simple ghost story mystery. And
that was Hannah that said that. I will defend myself, not me. All right.
And
sorry.
Sometimes I just need a ghost story movie that I can watch and not have to think about like thematic relevance. And if you want to get down to it about like what this could mean, I think it begs this question. If you can't remember anything or anything that has happened, can you really know yourself or know what you're capable of? That's like what I took away from this. And I have this ability to really suspend disbelief in so many movies so that I can completely immerse myself in them. And I was probably that person that's like, Caveat has like one of the best jump scares after Terrified that I can remember, that just looking over at the wife or the mother in the little space there, and then when he looks over and she's got the cap on with a little hole with her eye, it was like a little funny but also really fucking creepy. And I thought our main lead guy was like maybe a little dulled down, but you know, he had like a traumatic brain injury, so I let him pass for that. I think Caveat is a small little movie that makes a big impact for people who can appreciate it.
I will say I do agree with a good bit of what you're saying in terms of like the scares. I think this movie does have, like I mentioned, it is the scariest of the list for me. And I agree. It's the stuff in the basement with the mom, that one jump scare with the hat, where really anytime you look and she's moved. I absolutely loved that. I think it is a very high point in, honestly, Shudder's catalog that I've seen so far. Like that scare is really up there for me. Terrified is better. I do agree. I adore that movie so much. But I also agree. I think we're pretty good at suspending disbelief. So that certainly, like, as much as we are like, bro, go home. Like, That's a movie.
I had no problem.
And I'm also like, bro probably needs the money, is like desperate. And when you're desperate, you do dumb shit sometimes.
I will also suspend disbelief if it's in service of something cool. I've noticed.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, well, this is silly. However, him chaining himself into a vessel in this house is kind of awesome for whatever's going to happen. But I think you both have made compelling points, and I agree with both of you about this, which is why I kind of really fall in the middle about how I feel about this movie.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like I truly, despite being the one who picked this might be the movie that I have the least to say about.
It's easy. It's simple, which I think Susie made a good point, and that's good sometimes. I'm fine with that.
I have a question.
I think the issue is it promised me more, and I'm like sold on more when I start watching. And so sometimes when I feel like maybe it over promised, under delivered a little bit.
But I think that's other people over promising it to you.
Oh, I'm saying I think its whole setup maybe oversells it too.
Yeah.
Like just the opening scenes. But
I do think this movie, I'm sorry, I know you have a question, Susie. I will say I like how this movie looks. I know it's so drab, but like drab complimentary. It looks great. It's doing like the right thing in terms of that for like how it inspires your feelings and discomfort.
Okay, before we find out that our lead guy Isaac plot, we're not going to break down the plot for listeners, but Isaac doesn't know if he did something bad, and then we find out as the audience along with him whether or not he did that bad thing. And up until that point, like, I really didn't know. I didn't know if he did the bad thing or if he didn't do the bad thing. I didn't know who was telling the truth, who was lying. And I loved that back and forth. And I think of all the 4 movies we're talking about, this one had the best building of tension, even though it was a slow build. There was just tension on top of tension in this movie.
I think I agree with that. Yeah. I don't know why, I guess because my sympathies immediately lied with Isaac, the man, like, he's chained in this house. I was immediately like, he didn't do it. And if he did it, I'm with him. He did it for a good reason, I'm sure. I don't know if that inspired as much tension to me, but
you were like, I'm defending him.
I was like, I defend Isaac to my dying day. But
I did love Isaac.
Yeah. I don't know why, because he is kind of playing.
And death to Mo.
Yeah, fuck that guy.
That's something that kills me. I know that it's show don't tell is good. But like also like I kind of wanted to see what bad things happened to Mo from Ghost Mom.
Yeah.
I know that just like having the scream is maybe better, but damn, I want to just have
her sawing open the crawl space. That is scary as fuck. That was so good.
Also super low budget, so maybe they didn't have the money to do that.
Yeah, and I don't want too much. I don't want like the point, because that like ruins it too.
And it might have been weird against the like really slight scares.
Yeah,
that's true. Well, wrapping up our discussion on this, again, we'll just go around yes or no. Would you recommend this film to other people? Matt?
I'm sorry, I'd push oddity first, so I'm in the maybe on this one. Or do I have to say no?
Give us a yes or no.
I'd say you can pass. I'm sorry, Susie. It's a no. I feel bad saying it, though. I don't feel good about it.
That's
so,
okay.
Susie, you're a yes.
If you like the movies I generally like, you will love this movie.
Lonely.
No, and don't watch Oddity either.
All right, I'm going to push back on that. You should totally watch Oddity. I think if you want a few cool scares, yes, but it's not the top of my list. All right.
Oh, can we rate all 4 of these at the end so we can see the winner?
We put them in order.
Yay.
Yeah. I was.
Well, I'm losing, but
I know. Okay. That's why I was like, we'll do yes or no's, because I'm too nervous to give some of these a number, but we totally can. Or we can rank order that. Let's rank order them at the end. I'd feel better with that. Because I'm nervous, weirdly.
So the next one was me. You can say what it is.
Go all right, bitch. Yeah, what an insane pick for Matt. Matt picked Mad God from 2021, written, produced, and directed by Phil Tippett. The back of the box summary for this is fucking bananas. The assassin travels through a nightmare underworld of tortured souls, ruined cities, and wretched monstrosities. End of description. What the fuck? Matt, explain yourself. First, tell us why you picked this, and then go off on how you felt about it.
Your Honor, I will come to the stand and defend myself here. So, I've actually heard very good things about this movie prior to seeing it. I knew that it was stop motion. I actually didn't realize it was Phil Tippett, who is, not stop motion, but VFX royalty, working on Jurassic Park and plenty of other stuff. And I've just heard in general, like, it's a very good horror movie. So that's why I wanted to watch it. That's all I got. I just heard and people I respect in the space have said very good things. So
tell us what you thought of the movie then.
I absolutely loved it. Actually, I will defend why, though. This movie has very little narrative, I will say. There is narrative, but it's a lot that you have to pick out yourself. I like a movie that can make me feel horrible and make me feel like shit. I think that I can really put myself in the space and have a lot of empathy for what the creator's trying to make me feel, right? And this one throughout is maybe some of the most horrific shit I've ever seen, some of the most oppressive things I've ever seen in an oppressive dystopian world. And it hurt the entire way through and had me feeling basically sick to my stomach the whole way through. So that's a plus for me when I watch it. I'll get into some more once we debate a little bit, but that's how I'm feeling.
Okay. I think I'm going to be more in the middle than the No Bodies crew. So I
haven't heard Lonely say anything about it yet, so we don't know.
No, I know how she feels about that.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, she booed you. So,
I thought that was Susie.
I don't know.
Susie booed you, but
Lonely booed you in her heart.
All right. Well, fine. Go ahead.
So, narratively, obviously, the narrative is loose.
I'll tell you exactly what it's about once we get through it.
That's totally fine. You can totally do that, and I welcome this. However, the narrative was a bit loose for me. I felt like I was really clocking out, and normally I don't get that bad with that, I feel like, but this, for some reason, I just could not lock in. I do think that this movie has the most grotesque fucking images of all four movies that we picked.
And it's still beautiful at the same time.
I think this is like a very visually stunning movie. I don't want to look at it, and that's why it's great. I think all of the stop motion is really well done. All of the images were disgusting. I just felt like I couldn't connect to it because I got bored. And I'm sorry.
No, it's fine.
I'm sorry.
Again, well, when there's no narrative structure, it's easy to fall out of it. But I think when I was just so engulfed in what was being burned into my brain and my eyes as I watched, I was able to lock in.
Yeah. I will say though, like, obviously I watched Skinamarink and like I reviewed that on the positive side. So
I also love that movie.
Yeah, so it's certainly not that like I can't lock in when something is more ambiguous, but for some reason, maybe it's just the mood I was in. I don't know.
All right, haters, tell me why you hated it.
Go first, and then I'll let Susie take the soapbox because I don't think I'm going to be as impassioned as she is. I didn't care for this just because I mean, obviously it's trying to tell me something, but I didn't feel as if it cared too much about what it was trying to say. As I get older, I realize I don't care for films that have no desire to explain themselves. Like, okay, like you're artsy and I get it, but like, who is your audience if you have no desire to explain what the point that you're trying to make? And if the audience has to be such a slim amount of people who, quote, get it, close quote, then what are you making the film for? And okay, sure, if you're only making the film for that small group of people, then more power to you, I guess. But I don't know. I have less patience for those films as I get older. With that being said, though, there's a lot to say about how impressive this film is technically. In terms of a stop motion piece, it is highly impressive. Honestly, I think this has a place in the extreme horror iceberg just for the imagery on this.
100%.
But yeah, the imagery is crazy. The multimedia arts on this is insane, especially if you compare this to the other stop motion film in the Shudder resume, which is stop motion. This is definitely the more impressive of the two films.
For sure.
But I just feel, and I want to give the credit where it's due in that space, and I also want to give credit to, there is a lot to say about making a narrative like this in this decade. I think this is a really relevant piece of art. I just feel like it's not going to reach as many people as it could by trying to be a little bit more accessible. But I guess such is the way of art. If it's not accessible, then that's what the artist intended. So those are my thoughts. I know it's a lot of nothing. Like, I don't want to bash the film because it is technically impressive, but it just wasn't for me because it didn't put a lot of effort into explaining itself. But Susie, you can go.
So straight away, this reminded me kind of the on acid, the Dark Crystal meets the Labyrinth meets a Korn video. And Matt, later on, you and I can go back and forth what we think it means, because I think I have an understanding of what they were trying to do. But the fact that it is not very obvious is something I commend this film for, because you and I are probably going to see it two different ways. And if we can have a discourse on that, then this film did what it was supposed to do. I think it's a film that's supposed to make people talk, make you think. For me, I had to look at the plot on Wikipedia, even as I was watching it, because I kept thinking I was missing something, but I wasn't missing anything.
Same.
So then I looked at it in a completely different way. I took myself out of it and kind of like watched from the sidelines to figure it out. The only thing I really, really didn't like about this movie is the fact that they went back and forth between the stop motion and the real characters. I think if they had kept it completely stop motion with not real people, I might have liked it a little more. I didn't hate it. I just thought it was way too long, and this would have been a really effective short.
I think I would enjoy it more as a short as well.
Well, so neither of you hated it as much as I thought, so I feel a little bit better.
Well, I mean, 85 minutes though.
it's 85, but I mean, I understand the like complaints. I think this is very much in some ways a complete vibes movie. Like, you have to like basically throw narrative out the window to some degree. There is one, and then just let it wash over you, which is not easy to do, and I've definitely failed at doing it many times. This one just really worked for me for like
with marijuana.
Yeah.
No, dude, the whole time I was watching this and I'm like, good thing I don't do drugs anymore, because this would have fucked me up.
I was also like, this is maybe you could kill somebody on drugs watching this. Like, it's just immediate, like your brain would melt, I think. And I felt like my brain was melting.
Because you have the themes of, and this is where you can get into kind of, Matt, your interpretation of it. But I mean, like I said, this film, there's a lot to be said about making a piece like this in this decade. It's a very anti-system movie, so there's like a lot to talk about. We're to assume some great war has occurred, and whoever has caused this great war, at least is the way I interpreted it, is an evil, like, all-seeing power type situation. So it's very, I saw it as anti-government. That's what I saw, or like authoritarianism. And I think those themes of resistance, themes of evil that comes from power, themes from paranoia, those are all super socially relevant right now. But again, I just don't think this is very accessible. That was what I took from what this was trying to tell me. I saw it as like an absolute splatterpunk, like artsy version of an anti, government piece, which is like fine in punk rock and shit, but I just don't think it was for me.
So I did want to say earlier, you were like, who is this made for? I'm pretty sure Phil Tippett and the people that made this like made it for themselves to a big degree. I think they'd said what I'd read that he like had this in the back pocket for like 20 years and like had tried to get it done and then finally was able to make it happen. And to some degree, part of it is like, how much grotesque shit can we make? How much insane imagery can we make? And like, let's just do it. And then there is, I think, the loose narrative that goes along with it. And my read on it is I do agree it's authority. But I also see it as every little thing we see is our world. It is the world we live in. Like, yes, it's this far out underwater, whatever thing they got going there, but all of the horribleness is exactly things we have going on here. They just made it look more grotesque. Here it's a little hidden. So like you have war is a big part of it, right? This terrible war that has happened, or is it currently ongoing? There's the drones of little slaves going away at their normal or their menial task and jobs where they're slaughtered indiscriminately by machinery around them, and basically the idea of basically working ourselves to death. And I'm trying to think of a couple of the other ones. There's the idea of like the authority over us, as you said, the anti-authority and the control that we have, and how we're kind of just like ants in comparison to those in power.
I would go off of like what you were saying too, and I feel like there was a scene that really read to me about like our existence is a commodity to like the powers that be, or like those above us. Like there is the scene where they're cutting open the body and they're pulling out all of like these coins and jewelry from the body, and I was like, holy shit.
And then what they end up doing though is they're like the assassin's whole goal is to just like restart this, restructure, try to fix this world. And when he eventually does it, they do rebuild, and then they go right back to the hell they're in. It's just we ask ourselves as like humans, are we destined to do this forever? And so it's anti-authority, not just towards authority, but also towards God. And that's why it's called Mad God, because the question is like, in our world, not just the world here, like what if there is a all good, all knowing God, why are they allowing this to continue? And I think that's kind of like what Phil Tippett is asking. And so like that really spoke to me, made me feel a lot of things.
That's rad.
But what did the assassin actually do?
I believe they ended up resetting everything, right? There was a new cosmos.
But he didn't do that.
I thought that was his briefcase.
They took
it was the baby, right?
That larva out of him, and then the alchemist takes that larva and makes a new beginning, and the assassin is just there watching. So I thought
eventually the briefcases blew up. No, maybe you're right. Maybe it was just the new baby.
Yeah, I think it might.
It gets confusing.
The larva then he like makes into the dust and throws the dust. So for me, and we get different interpretations. I'm not right. You're not right. I'm not wrong. You're not wrong. I think it's about like cyclical destruction and the breakdown of humanity. And no matter like what happens, that's just like where we keep going.
Yeah.
But then at the end of it, there's always a new start. So like it could be different, but it's probably going to keep happening over and over the same way. And I just wrote down, my one note is life is pain, domino effect. Everything has a reaction. And, this is the only movie that I am still thinking about, and I probably will continue to think about. I'll never watch it again, but it'll hide out in the little cavities of my brain and probably come out at the most inopportune time. So thank you for picking
fantastic. That makes me so happy though, because even you're booing me, but like that's amazing if that's like you can take that away and that's in there. Like that's such a successful film. Like
Matt is so proud of himself for picking it.
I am proud of myself. And I agree with you. It's one that's I'm never gonna forget this movie.
This is like if David Lynch did a stop motion film. I feel like this is what he would come up with if he was on drugs. And
most likely,
I knew you picked this because it's totally in that same realm of like existential thinking. But no, I would not recommend it though.
Boo.
Yeah.
What do you mean? Actually, it was life-changing, right?
Yes, I would recommend it. I don't like it, but I'd recommend it.
Yeah, I was going to say, I feel like I am kind of in the same boat of like, this was not my favorite. I still rated it more positively than negatively in my Letterboxd because I think it's offering a lot artistically. It's not for me, but the people who it is for like need to see it. For the average person, most people I know, I would say don't watch it, but like the people that this was made for like will love this film.
This is the one I want to convince people to watch and just ruin their day.
You need to go to a college campus, like a liberal arts college campus.
Yeah.
You'll find plenty of people to watch it there.
Well, I'm glad you recommend it.
You would
I would not recommend it. No, I would not recommend it. I would say if you want to appreciate the art of it, like just do some research on the director and look at his other work and look at some stills from the film. I just feel like it's not, I wouldn't recommend it. It's too long. And it's, if you're going for art, you can get this elsewhere with the same narrative, in my opinion.
But also, if you did like this, watch La Casa Lobo.
Casa Lobo. Yeah.
Oh, looking that one up.
I think we talked about it when we talked about stop motion,
we
and
did.
Same vibe, but not
that
as
one's better though. I like La Casa Lobo better, but
good to know. Well, I'm glad you guys watched it, and I think that I can be acquitted of this crime, Your Honor.
All right.
Am I good?
For now. Moving to our last film and the most recent film, Grafted, which came out this year, directed by Sasha Rainbow and written by Mia Maramara. Oh, I should have looked up this pronunciation. Huling O. Lee Murray and Sasha Rainbow. Back of the box description is a Chinese scholarship student Wei travels to New Zealand to study biomedical research at a prestigious university. Shy, introverted, and hiding a genetic facial birthmark, Wei immerses herself in her late father's research, working on a revolutionary skin grafting procedure that could cure her deformity. So obviously, we haven't had a lonely film yet, so we know that you picked this. Can you tell us why you selected this film?
Yes. So I selected Grafted because one of my favorite things about the Shudder resume is that there are some really fun femme films on this resume that I think don't get a lot of recognition. And when I talk about some of the films I like the most from Shudder, you'll notice a lot of them are femme-led. And I think Grafted is a ton of fun. I know some of the, like, comparatively, like, to put this right after Mad God is, like, insane work, but whatever. This is a really fun surface-level film. The body horror is super great, super silly. I think it tells a story that we don't get very often. We have a story about a girl who is an immigrant, who's a transplant, and it's also really mean. It's a mean film. It talks about, you know, what girls do or what girls are pushed to do to feel like they're, you know, getting ahead. And I think it's super fun. I think this is a really cute mix of Jennifer's Body, of May. That's the film, right, Susie? Where's the veterinary student that cuts up her boyfriend?
Yeah.
May. Yeah. I think it's a cool mix of all of those films. Is it like the most cinematically brilliant film Shudder has ever put out? No. But I think it's a really cute encapsulation of some of the good things about the resume. And I thought it would be good to highlight, you know, a film that I'm not seeing getting a lot of traction this year, even though it is a ton of fun. So yeah, that's why I picked it.
I found that interesting that you said you're not seeing it get a lot of traction. I feel like when this came out, maybe it's just like on TikTok, but I saw this movie everywhere, which is why I ended up watching it. But Susie, I see you are unmuted, so why don't you share?
I'm actually surprised that Lonely likes this movie. Good to know. I thought that it leaned into the Chinese culture in like a completely surface level way. Mm-hmm. And it was almost like an Americanized Chinese culture movie to be like, hey, look it, we're cultural. And I did not like that. For me, it reminded me like Jawbreaker meets The Substance. I didn't think we were seeing like anything relatively new here. I thought earlier, maybe last year, there was a whole movie about the corpse flower. I forget what that movie's called. And it might have even been on Shudder. The body horror was a lot and it was great, but like it doesn't compare to The Substance for me. So I also had a lot of problems wondering, are they in high school? Are they in college? Because it was confusing. Mm-hmm. Lecture hall, but then kids saying hi to each other in the hallway, school nurse. And Wei's character arc is not believable at all. She goes from innocent daddy's girl to a villain. So I knew right away that like I wasn't going to like this movie. It was fun, but like that's all I can say it was. It was fun.
I think I am in the entirely same boat. I'd actually watched this movie before before it was picked, and I was like, I don't want to see it again. I do think the body horror in this is great. And that is what I'm seeing. Like, I did see it all over Shudder, and everyone was like, the body horror in this is sick, because it is. It has some images that really gross me the fuck out, and I loved that, even though that's not always my thing. I do agree that a movie that is also touching on image and how we perceive ourselves and cultural expectations for how we look, The Substance from last year, is more successful and does have better body horror, but we can also attribute that quite a bit also to budget and whatnot too. I think at its core, the concept is great and the purpose is nice, but I do think it ends up becoming this like corny runaway escape movie, and I just don't find that particular narrative interesting. I also find it kind of disappointing that it does have such an element of her being, Chinese and the Chinese culture. And I do think it could be doing more to kind of discuss beauty standards and how beauty standards are often very based off whiteness. And obviously she does end up, like, her final intended form is a white woman, but I don't think the movie is actually using that to say much of anything. And I do think that that is a missed opportunity and would have been really cool. I also just think
I was thinking the exact same thing as you when I was watching it. And they definitely did that purposely.
Yeah, and I just feel like they were so close and so far with that element of it. And something Matt and I were talking about right after is like, damn, the quote unquote ugly girl now also has an ugly personality. Like, fuck, bro. That's not cool.
Lonely did say it's a mean movie.
It is a mean movie.
So, Lonely, I'm going to defend you for a second, then I'm going to betray you. I'm sorry. I do think this movie has a great setup and some great ideas. And I do like a mean movie. I like the ideas they're going for here. So I'm on board with this. I think I do agree with a lot of stuff that Susie and Hannah said, so I'm not going to repeat all that. But I think what really its biggest crime is that it sets you up so well, and then it just gets, in my opinion, boring. Like, at least in that back half, I was just like, I can't. We're just going through the same thing. She kills somebody, puts on a new face. She's trying to get the thing. She kills somebody else, puts on a new face. She's trying to get her research. And I was like, how is this still going? Like, I was like, this needs to do something different. Like, and that's what's frustrating is, and that is the kind of movie that pisses me off more, because I love what it wants to do. And I just wish it just dove more into its unique elements. And that makes me sad, but I don't hate it by any stretch. It's just one that I didn't feel was for me.
The homeless guy.
Do I get to respond now?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, of course.
No, shut up. No, just kidding.
You're on trial, though. You're on the stand.
Yes, I took my cross examination. The only thing I have two comments that I will add, that I will push back on. One is that you can't compare an independent film to The Substance. And I think that is like such a weak piece of criticism. And I'm not saying it about this group of people, because that was also what was said about this film critically. Like, if you go on like the IMDb for this film, it's like, not The Substance. Whole duh. Fucking yeah, it's not The Substance. Like,
she makes a point there, Susie. She's talking this jury and acquitting her. I don't know.
When you know another movie is coming out at the same time, you gotta do something.
Well,
different.
Again, sorry that the independent director from Los Angeles couldn't just give Demi more a call, but whatevs. I just think that that's like a weak piece of criticism in general. I also think like we are standing on like a straw man argument as horror enthusiasts if we're like, oh, well, it's not this other film. It's like, okay, so we're just going to keep undoing the chicken before the egg and be like, well, it's not Halloween from 1978. Like, whatever. But anyway, that's my one piece of criticism there.
Okay, then respond to the like almost appropriation of Chinese culture in this movie, just to use it as like a really weak plot point.
If you review the interviews from the director, it does say that she consulted the other actors in the making of the film who identify with that cultural heritage. And I don't know, Could it have been done differently? Sure, but I just don't think that was the goal of the film. I'm not going to defend cultural appropriation if that's what you're asking me to do, because I'm not. But I also think that we're always talking about how there's too many serious horror films, and then we get one, and then I feel like horror film fans are like, dumb, B-. That's just my humble opinion on it.
I didn't think it was dumb. I liked the route they wanted to go. I just felt like they didn't complete the circle or complete the thought, and that is where I get frustrated.
Mm-hmm.
And where they could have taken it someplace was with the homeless man, which they did not utilize at all.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, him getting a bad ending, I thought was overly mean and like kind of missed the mark for me, and kind of was more of a microcosm of the bigger picture misses.
And he's like, "Oh, you're beautiful on the inside." It just no.
She wasn't beautiful on the inside, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But I think that's the point of the film being a mean film. The director calls this a cross between Mean Girls and Face Off. So I think that was the intended result.
Yeah.
But I'm not like I said, this is not like the best Shudder film that's ever been made. But I also do feel like, I don't know. I feel like, and this is going to be a hot opinion, but I think that sometimes when women make less like surface level films, like when women make a surface level film, it's butchered like in the critical space. But if men make a surface level film, it's like, oh my God, so funny. In my opinion, like Susie, we just watched Stitches a couple of weeks ago for clowns, and all I could think about is like, there are people out there who are like, oh my God, Stitches is so funny. Oh my God, there's a penis on a balloon string, and people like love it as a cult classic. And then you have, I thought it was funny. I thought it was mean and funny. I thought it was a clear ploy on Mean Girls, and I thought it was funny, but maybe that's just me.
I will say that if you're looking for something that you're just going to have like more fun with, that you don't have to think quite as critically with, of the four, this is the pick. My main issue is like, I like what it's trying to do. I just don't think it executes it as well as I would like it to. And I'm sure some of that is budgetary, and I'm sure some of that is writing, and, so on.
I do agree with what Lonely said about, though, I think that women are seen more critically. I actually don't think it's
Body. What about that one? Huh?
I do love Bodies.
Nobody shot on that one. That was funny.
I thought like Bodies.
I was more going to compare, though, to something outside of this, though. Like, I think it happens, and for race as well, when you look at someone like M. Night Shyamalan, people kind of think he's stupid sometimes, where he has very heightened out there dialogue, and people will be like, he doesn't know how to write. And it's like, well, no, he's very clearly doing this for a reason. Like, you might not like it, and you might think it's dumb, but he's not dumb, right? And like when other directors who are white guys do it, usually people are like, oh, they're so clever and so fun. And David Lynch is one of them. Love David Lynch.
The Happening was dumb.
Oh, I'm not defending The Happening, Susie.
And what about the one with like the?
But I'm defending Trap. Okay, I'm defending Trap. I'm defending his dialogue, is what I should say.
Yeah, like I do think the dialogue is intentionally silly. Like, it is silly. He knows that it's heightened and corny and goofy. You're supposed to laugh at it, and I do think, at least with Trap last year, people like, we're not getting.
But my issue is that they think he's dumb and that he's not doing it on purpose.
Yeah,
and I do think there is like
I
a
also
race
think
element
Jordan
that plays
Peele
into
was
it.
kind of dumb with his last movie, but.
Well, I love Nope. So
I know you do.
Susie from the top
totally getting on a side track here.
The cross examination of trying to make Lonely defend cultural appropriation, that was crazy. That's like, Lonely, you might be going to jail.
Like,
if Susie's your prosecutor, like. Oof.
Susie's about to get me fired from my real life job in real life. But no, I don't defend the cultural appropriation in this film. However, if you want to give the director some credit for their supposed research, they did communicate with the actors in the film who identify as from these cultures. That's all I'm going to say about that.
Yeah, no, I know. I was more just laughing that Susie was ruthless in this one, and I liked it.
This is the most ruthless I've ever experienced Susie. The shots were fired so hard and so fast. It was brutal.
Yeah, I mean,
She's always smarter than me. I have to give her a run for her money sometimes.
Listen, I'm not smarter than anybody. And listen, Susie has made me watch some shit sometimes. She makes me watch some time loop craziness. And I've put in just as much blood and sweat in these viewings as Susie has. So I think we'll have to just survive through Grafted, Susie.
Well, to wrap up Grafted, what would you guys recommend this movie? I'm so sorry, I would not.
I'm also a no on this, but not for any of, just because I didn't have fun watching it. And that's like why, that's the big defense, is it should be fun. I just like wasn't having a fun time.
It just kept going.
And it's not because I hate women, I hope. I swear.
But, hates women. Cut that.
I really hope that's not why.
I'm gonna.
Your Honor,
recommend it.
Your Honor, I'm guilty of not having fun watching Grafted. Well, so Hannah, what's next? Sorry.
Well, let's rank them for our personal tastes from worst to best. So Matt, what would be your ranking from worst to best?
Okay, Grafted was my worst. I'm sorry. To be honest, Caveat and Blood Quantum, I have in a big tie right now, and I don't know how to put one over the other. And Mad God's my number one, but that's just because that's made for my brain and for the things I want to feel watching a horror movie. Okay. I don't think it's the best narratively, obviously, but like it just hit me in the right places. So,
okay.
But no one else is gonna pick that as number one. So,
all right, Susie.
Grafted is 4. I would say I'm gonna hate myself for this, but I think Caveat is 3, Mad God's 2, and I just love the message Blood Quantum sending. So I think for the general audience, I would say that out of all 4 movies, you should watch that one.
Okay, Lonely.
I would say 4th is Caveat, 3rd is Mad God, 2nd is Grafted, and the best film of the night is Blood Quantum.
Yeah, I'm going to say for my taste personally, I'm going to say Grafted in 4th, Mad God in 3rd, Caveat in 2nd, and Blood Quantum in 1st.
Because I won. This is the first time I've ever won anything. That's the award.
I am putting Blood Quantum over Caveat. I decided.
Yeah, I think that's the move.
Oh, I thought I was going to win out those first 2. Damn.
No.
Good work, Susie, though.
Susie is our clear winner of the night, if there are winners and losers. So congratulations.
We all got to watch 4 fun movies and talk about them. So
none of them were terrible.
No, it sounded like y'all hated my movie, so you got to watch 3 fun movies, and I suck.
I never said I hated it. I very made it clear. I was like, I'm going to defend parts of this movie.
I also think it suffered from the lead character. I just don't think she was very strong in the first half of the movie. She tried to be meek and like silly and not fit in, but it just didn't work. It needed to be like either more or less. Sorry, we're not getting back to
that. So we did ask our followers on the social what their favorite Shudder films are. So I did want to read what they had to say. So we have responses from a few people. Brits by Hobnob, which is Brit, one of the hosts of 1001 by 1, who's been on our show before, said The Devil's Bath, Horror Noir, Mad God,
shout out,
and The Queen of Black Magic. Philip Marinello said, without looking at a list, I'd go Deadstream or Mad God.
Very interesting.
Deadstream. Yes, I like that guy. Girl. Them.
Horror Movie Stew said Host and Late Night with the Devil. Red Treehouse Pod, our last contributor, said Late Night with the Devil, but Terrified is really close, and so is When Evil Lurks, and then Skinamarink, which I was the one who told him to watch Terrified, so I'm giving myself points for that. I liked
all of his picks except Late Night with the Devil. Don't love that movie.
Yeah, well, I did want to ask you guys what other Shudder films you guys really appreciated or would recommend to others. I have a list of a few that we have not covered on the show before because I didn't want to just copy things we've already reviewed. So I would say my biggest recommendation from what I've seen thus far of the Shudder catalog is Terrified. I think Terrified is the scariest of the Shudder catalog that I've seen so far. I think it is. I screamed like a baby. It was horrible. I had like some of the imagery is bananas. I think it has the scariest jump scare of anything I've seen in the Shudder catalog or most movies that I've seen, period. So I would highly recommend Terrified. I also recently watched The Demon Disorder from last year. It is definitely a deep cut. It only has 1,387 reviews on IMDb. I wouldn't say it's like the most amazing movie ever, but I do think it has some rad ass body horror. And then I also recently watched Anything for Jackson, which I did think was like really fucked up and like disturbing. Yeah. I just think the concept at the center of it is a lot of fun. Matt, what about you?
Terrified is very good. I throw that out there. I love Skinamarink, and I will
defend it till you're
Yep, I will line up in front of the firing squad for Skinamarink, and that the TikTok firing squad. But got us 5 million views. Everyone hating on me, so we'll take it. And those are my two big because I'm not fully into the Shudder world the way you are currently.
I'm trying to watch through as much of the catalog as I can. So I've seen everything English speaking from this year because I watch while I'm working and I can't read subtitles while I do that, but I'll get to those. All right, Susie, how about you?
All right. Okay. How much time do you have? I've seen almost every single Shudder original.
All right, give us three to five.
Okay. The Ugly Stepsister from this year.
Yes.
Killed it. Let's see. Azrael from last year. Killed it.
Wait, I've heard good things about that.
I liked that one.
But you told me that. Okay.
It's Samara Weaving, so.
Perpetrator from 2023. I really like that one. That does not get enough love. And I only have two more. A Wounded Fawn. Love that one. Deadstream. Sissy. Solemn. Hellhole. Sorry.
Girl's like, let me just word bomb now.
They Live in the Gray. The Last Thing Mary Saw. And Candisha. Also amazing. Okay, in Violation. There's so many good ones.
You're Spiral, just making up names now.
Impedagore.
I have to.
The Beach House.
Don't worry, I don't have any. Don't worry.
Satan Slaves. And by the way, Terrified was the first movie I think I reviewed on Horror Movie Weekly. Because that's like my all-time favorite foreign horror.
Bloody Mary.
So Lonely, do you have any ones that you would recommend?
Yes, and ironically, only two of them have been mentioned, even though Susie has captured a good portion of the resume for us. I have five. So I got confused by the question. So there's a difference between a Shudder exclusive, which is a film that's exclusively like released on Shudder to American audiences, or Shudder originals, which are like films backed by Shudder monetarily. So the first three are Shudder exclusives, meaning that they've been put out by Shudder to American audiences, and that is The Medium, Husera the Bone Woman. I was literally like sitting here like praying that Susie would get to talk about Husera because I know she loves that movie too. The Dark and the Wicked, and then those are all exclusives, and the two Shudder originals are Late Night with the Devil and Skinamarink.
Beautiful.
She was the smart one, bringing in the difference between exclusive and original. So.
Yes.
There you go. But Lonely's a Skinamarink fan, so her and I are going down together.
I know. Well, trust me, man, it's not looking too hot for us right now. I don't know if we're going to survive this episode.
Well, that about wraps up all of our planned conversation topics for this evening. Any final thoughts? Any final compliments, insults to throw?
No, I got nothing. I enjoyed our chats.
Yeah, look, and we didn't even get mad at each other. Lonely
No,
totally
listeners.
forgives me.
Listeners, Susie and I are not getting a divorce. This will not end like the last show Susie was on.
This was couples therapy, actually.
Yeah, I feel lifted. I feel free.
Well, thank you guys so much for coming on the show again. Give us can you write down the timestamp?
Yeah.
Shudder.
Oh,
I
no.
just forgot how to speak.
Happens.
Let our listeners know again where they can find you.
Well, you can find me on Instagram at projectile__varmint. I am not very active, but I do. If you message me, I will respond.
And you've been posting your thrifting finds recently, which has been entertaining for me because I'm a thrifting hoarder. No, not a real hoarder. Just I love a good thrift, a trinket. You can find me at Lonely Horror Club on Instagram. Try to post reviews whenever possible. Right now, the only thing I'm popular for is Date Everything, the video game, but that's okay. We'll make a comeback. You can also find my writing on my website, lonelyhorrorclub.com. And you can find our show at Nobody's Horror Podcast wherever you get your shows.
All right. That's all for today, folks. Thanks for listening.
Thank you guys so much for joining. I've been Matt Hanna.
I'm Hannah.
And this is Horror with the Hannas. We're out of here.
Thank you for listening to Horror Hour with the Hannas. Make sure to listen to future episodes on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, or wherever else you can find podcasts. You can also find us on YouTube, where we post episodes and shorts. You can follow us at Horror Hour with the Hannas on TikTok and Instagram, as well as at Horror Hour on Blue Sky for more content. If you like the podcast, please follow and leave a review on your favorite podcasting app. Happy hauntings!